Picture this. It's Tuesday night. You're laying in your bed. You're not tired enough to sleep, but you're too drained to do anything. So you open your phone. And within 30 seconds, you see it. Someone from your school just bought a house. Someone you haven't spoken to in 3 years just got promoted to manager. Someone else is in Bali. Another person just got engaged. And one guy you vaguely remember from a class you took once just launched a business. And it's apparently doing very well. And you just lie there, staring at the ceiling. That feeling that washes over you doesn't have a clean name. It's not jealousy exactly. It's not sadness exactly. It's something heavier than both of these. It's the feeling that life already started and you missed the beginning. But here's what nobody tells you about that feeling. It's lying to you completely. And the way it's lying to you is so specific, so calculated, and so built into the world you grew up in that once I explain it, you will never be able to look at the feeling the same way again. That's what this video is about. Here's how the story starts for almost everyone watching this. You grew up being told there's a path, and the path is simple. School, grades, degree, job, relationship, house, kids, stability, repeat. And everyone around you reinforces that path. Your parents, your teachers, your extended family at every holiday dinner asking where you're going to go to university, what you want to be, where do you have a girlfriend yet? And you absorb it. You didn't choose to. You just did. Because that's how it works when you're young. The world hands you a scoreboard and sets the rest of your life measuring yourself against it without even questioning who built it or why. So now you have this scoreboard in your head, invisible, automatic, and every time you look at someone else's life, your brain immediately checks. Where are they on the board? Where am I? Who's winning? But here's where it gets dark. That scoreboard was built in the 1950s. For a world that no longer exists. It was built for a world where one income could buy a house, where you graduated and walked into a stable job, where careers were simple, where the path was predictable, where the game was actually winnable by normal people following normal rules. That world is gone. The economy changed, the job market changed, housing costs exploded. The entire structure of how life is supposed to work collapsed quietly over 20 years, while the scoreboard stayed exactly the same. Nobody updated it. So you're playing a completely different game, harder, more chaotic, with worse starting conditions, while being scored on rules from 7 decades ago. Therefore, when you feel behind, you're not actually behind. You're measuring a 2026 life with a 1955 ruler. And of course, it doesn't fit. Of course, the numbers are wrong. The ruler is broken, not you. But, and this is where it gets complicated, even if you know that intellectually it doesn't make the feeling go away, it does. Because the scoreboard isn't just external, it's inside you now. And something else is making it worse. Something that doesn't exist from any previous generation. Every generation has compared themselves to the people around them, and that's always been painful. That always caused anxiety. That always made people feel like they're falling short. But your generation did something no generation before has ever done. You handed that comparison mechanism a supercomputer, and then you carried it into your pocket, and then you checked it 200 times a day. Think about what comparison actually looked like before social media. You compared yourself to maybe 30 people, your neighbors, your cousins, the kids at school. That was your reference group. That was the entire sample size your brain used to decide whether you were doing okay. But now your reference group is every person you ever met, plus thousands of strangers, plus influencers, plus celebrities, plus every curated filter, highlighted real version of every life that the algorithm decides to show you. Your brain, which evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to compare itself to 30 people in a village, is now trying to process that every day, multiple times a day. It was never built for this. It's like trying to run modern software on ancient hardware. It overheats, it crashes, it produces outputs that make no sense. The output it produces is I'm failing. Everyone else is winning. Something is deeply wrong with me. And here's the part that should make you genuinely angry. The platforms know this. They've known this for years. There are internal documents for major social media companies showing that their own researchers told them the product was causing serious psychological harm. And they kept building it anyway because the harm and the engagement were the same thing. Your pain kept you scrolling. Your time was profitable. Therefore, the feeling of being behind everyone else your age is not a personal failing. It is a designed experience. Someone engineered it. Someone profits from it. And you've been living inside of it so long it feels like reality. But it gets even more interesting because even without the phone, even in a room alone with no Wi-Fi and no signal, the feeling is still there, which means the phone isn't the whole story. The real problem is something older, something that was planted before you ever had a device. There's a voice. You know the one. It's the voice that shows up when you lie in the bed at night, when you're sitting in traffic or in a bus staring out of the window. The voice that runs a quiet, constant commentary on your life. And what does the voice say? You should be further along by now. You wasted so much time. Look at what other people have built. You had the same hours. What did you do with them? You're running out of time. You're falling behind. You're not where you're supposed to be. That voice feels like it's telling you the truth. It feels like it's being realistic. It feels like it's just being honest with you because nobody else will be. But that voice is not the truth. The voice is a recording. It was recorded by every teacher who compared you to another student. Every parent who said your cousin is doing so well. Every system that ranked you, graded you, measured you against other people, and made you feel like you needed to keep up. And now you internalize it so completely that it sounds like your own thoughts. It sounds like you, but it's not you. It's a program that you installed a long time ago and nobody ever told you that you could uninstall it. Here's the thing about the voice that almost nobody talks about. It's not motivating you. I know it feels like it's pushing you forward. I know it feels like without it, you just give up entirely. But think about the times in your life when you felt genuinely excited about something, not pressured, not anxious, but actually lit up. Did the voice help you then? Or were you so absorbed in what you were doing that the voice went quiet? The voice doesn't produce your best work. Genuine interest does. Genuine interest does. Curiosity does. Real desire does. The voice just produces guilt. And guilt is one of the least productive emotions in existence. Therefore, the first thing that actually needs to change isn't your circumstances, it's the relationship you have with that voice. Because here's a twist, and this is the part of the video I need you to actually sit with. The people you think are ahead of you, the ones triggering the voice, most of them have the exact same voice telling them the exact same things. The person who bought the apartment is looking at someone with a house, and the voice is saying, you should have more by now. The person with the business is looking at someone with a bigger business, and the voice is saying, you're still so far behind. It never stops for anyone at any level, which means getting ahead doesn't fix it. You don't outrun the feeling by achieving more, you outrun it by changing how you measure. I want to talk about a guy named Samuel. Samuel spent his entire 20s and 30s acting, small roles, background work, theater. He was good. People around him knew he was good. But by 40, he had nothing to show for it. No major roles, no real career. By any conventional measurement of success in his field, he was behind. He was failing. The voice in his head must have been deafening. Therefore, he kept going. Not because he had evidence it would work, but because stopping felt worse than continuing. And at 43, Samuel L. Jackson got his breakthrough role. He became one of the most recognizable actors alive, and it happened a full 2 decades after most people would have given up. Now here's what I want you to notice about the story. Not the happy ending, the middle part. The part where he was 35, 37, 39. And by every external measure, he was behind. He was losing. The timeline said he should have made it by now. The scoreboard said he was failing, and he was still building anyway. That's not an inspirational poster. That's just what it actually looks like from the inside when something actually works out. It looks like being behind for a long time and continuing anyway. Here's the real cost of the feeling that nobody talks about. And it's not the sadness, it's not the anxiety. Those are painful, but they're not the worst part. The worst part is what the feeling makes you do. It makes you rush into things you're not ready for. But because you feel behind, slowing down feels like falling further behind. So you take the job that's wrong for you because you feel like you should have a job by now. You get into the relationship that's wrong for you because you feel like you should have one by now. You abandon the thing you were actually building because it wasn't producing visible results fast enough. And the feeling of being behind made waiting feel unbearable. And then those rushed decisions create new problems. The wrong job drains you. The wrong relationship damages you. The abandoned project sits there like evidence of your failure. And all of that makes the feeling of being behind even worse. It's a trap and it feeds itself. The other thing it does, and this one is quieter and more dangerous, it makes you invisible to yourself. When you spend all your energy measuring where you are against where you think you should be, you stop noticing what you're actually good at, what you actually enjoy, what you actually want. Because all of that gets drowned out by the noise of the comparison. The scoreboard takes up so much mental space that there's nothing left for self-awareness. And so people spend years, sometimes decades, chasing a version of success that doesn't even belong to them. Built for someone else's definition, measured by someone else's rules. And they get there sometimes, and it doesn't feel the way they thought it would, because it was never theirs to begin with. Therefore, the most important question you ask yourself right now isn't, how do I catch up? It's, what am I actually chasing? And is this even mine? Because here's the thing, most people never ask that question. They just keep running toward a finish line they can't even describe, feeling behind the whole way. So what do you actually do? Not advice, not a list, just the things that actually work. The first thing is to get specific about what you actually want. Not what you think you should want, not what looks good for the outside. What would a good day feel like for you in your own life with nobody watching? That's the starting point, because you cannot feel behind on a race you actually chose to run. You can only feel behind on someone else's race that you actually joined. But knowing what you want is only half of it, because the feeling of being behind doesn't just come from comparison. It also comes from not moving at all. And that's the second thing. Pick one thing, not 5 things, not a whole new life, one thing, and go genuinely deep on it. Most people feel behind because they've been running in 10 directions and making no real progress in any of them. That's not because they're lazy. That's because the feeling of being behind makes everything feel urgent, which makes focus feel impossible, which keeps you scattered, which makes you feel even more behind. Break the loop. One thing deep for longer than it feels comfortable. The third thing, this is the hardest. Start before you feel ready. Because ready is a lie. It doesn't exist as a starting condition. It only exists as a result of having started. The people who look ahead of you right now were not ready when they started. They were scared. They were uncertain. They did it anyway. And doing it over time made them look like they knew what they were doing. Therefore, the move is not to wait until the feeling of being behind goes away. The feeling doesn't go away by waiting. It goes away by moving, not rushing, moving. There's a difference. Rushing is fear-driven. Moving is attention-driven. One scatters you, the other builds you. Here's what I actually want you to take from this. You're not behind. You're measuring your life with a broken ruler on a scoreboard built for a different world, while a machine designed to make you feel inadequate pumps images of everyone else's best moments directly into your brain 200 times a day. And you're still here, still trying to figure it out, still watching videos like this one at whatever time it is, looking for something that makes sense. That's not a behavior of someone who's given up. But knowing all of this doesn't automatically fix the feeling. I know that. The feeling comes back. Probably tonight. Probably when you open your phone. Therefore, the only real answer is to keep returning to this. Keep asking what you actually want. Keep choosing your own race over someone else's. Not once, not as a revelation, as a practice. Every day. Your life is not behind schedule. It's just yours. It's still being written. Tell me in the comments, what's the one thing the voice in your head keeps saying to you? The things it says at 2 a.m. when everything goes quiet. I want to know, because I think you'll find out you're less alone in that than you think.